Hello, be ready. Okay. Um, Fair warning. I'm going to be very candid here. And this recording is for both the American government class and the global politics class. I am rearranging what's going to be covered. This coming week, or actually when you watch this video, we will already be in the current week, was supposed to be about climate change and like what the government's doing about it or not doing about it, global stuff. Had a whole bunch of stuff set up for this. However, considering what's currently happening right now, it's historical. So it would be very irresponsible of me to not address it right now while it's all happening. And so both classes are going to get exactly the same discussion. And that's why I'm making one video for you guys. For the American government class this past week, I have been extremely vocal in the discussion all the way up through late afternoon on Wednesday. And I highly suggest people read. The global politics class, my apologies at being mostly absent. I've been going insane in the American government class because of what's currently happening. Um, to give you a quick recap, American government has been covering something. I'm saying this so American government knows why we're talking about it, and the global politics class knows why I'm talking about this. We were talking about why this country, the United States of America, seems so divided. For some reason, people kept deciding, oh, yes, it is divided. Not the question. We know this. It is a fact that we are very divided. We're supposed to be looking at why we're so divided right now, like what caused it. And I told them to look at the shootings from June 14th, 2025, and then this most current shooting with Kirk. Supposed to be looking at how things are covered. Previously, I have asked different people about politics, obviously, since these are politics classes, and the American government did one on the political ideology. I have also seen this in the global politics in some of the comments where people talk about what makes a good government, and then people seem to try to mimic or quote what you have been raised to believe the United States of America stands for. One of the number one things people constantly say is freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion. This comes up nonstop. That is in the Constitution, like legit. Totally the whole basis of this country was to start off with freedom of religion, which means free to choose any religion you felt matched you or none at all. Literally what this country was started on. It was not a Christian nation. It was freedom of religion. So if you were Christian, if you were Jewish, if you were Muslim, if you were Buddhist, or if you were an atheist, everybody had the exact same rights because this country was started for that whole freedom of religion. Look at the history, the persecution that was happening, which is why they were like, I want to use the phrase jumping ship, which sounds weird, but it's kind of true. And they came here. The other one is freedom of speech. We're going to look at the Constitution real quick now, because I want to show you a couple of things that are driving me crazy. All right, right here. This is the Constitution. First Amendment right. First Amendment. The very first thing they added to the Constitution after the original was written was Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Literally, we are supposed to be free to say what we think. Now, some people are like, yeah, well, and we've got so many of these stupid, but the right this, but the left that. Stop it. We're going to look at the current administration. Constitution, what our whole country is based on, stated we have the right for free speech. Let's now go to the whitehouse.gov. The day the current administration took over office, one of the very first presidential actions was restoring freedom of speech and ending federal censorship. Our current sitting president stated on the very first day, on Inauguration Day, that he is going to stand by this. Put in here, reminding us that we are supposed to be able to speak freely without government interference. Without government interference. He then tries to say that the previous administration trampled all over it and censored us and did all of these things. I am about to read it when I find the end of this sentence. Okay. What the current administration accused the previous administration of said that they trampled free speech rights by censoring American speech on online platforms, often by exerting substantial coercive pressure on third parties, such as social media companies, to moderate, deplatform, or otherwise suppress speech that the federal government did not approve. Under the guise of combating misinformation and disinformation and malinformation, the federal government infringed on the constitutionality, protected speech rights of American citizens across the United States in a manner that advanced the government's preferred narrative about significant matters of public debate. Government censorship of speech is intolerable in a free society. All right. Policy of the United States to secure the right of the American people to engage in constitutionally protected speech. Ensure that no federal government officer, employee, or agent engages in or facilitates any conduct that would unconstitutionally abridge the free speech of any American citizen. Ensure that no taxpayer resources are used to engage in or facilitate any conduct that would unconstitutionally abridge the free speech of an American citizen, and identify and take appropriate action to correct past misconduct by the federal government related to censorship of protected speech. Before I move on to Section 3, Section 1 and Section 2, you're going to have so many news articles that I'm adding in there for you to look at. Like, legit. It is exploding everywhere. As I am making this video, we've had some late night hosts get booted, lose their jobs. I have been sharing news articles. You guys take a look on your own of people who are being reported to employers because they said something negative. We have Disney who folded because a merger would be messed up. Our current sitting administration, who swore on day one of his inauguration here, January 20th, 2025, he sat there on camera and then signed an executive order stating this, is doing exactly what he said he's not going to do. He's doing exactly what he accused the previous administration of doing, and we're watching it happen. People are getting fired right and left for saying that what's happening is not fair. I am not even talking about anyone who's saying anything violent. And for the record, saying that somebody is not a good person is not hate speech. So that's going to be added into your discussion, is what exactly hate speech is, because that's what some people are trying to say. Some people are getting fired, canceled, whatnot, for saying that what is currently happening is a double standard. That's terrifying. That is a country that swears that they believe in free speech are saying you can't say that because we don't like it. This is not okay. Let's go to Section 3. Ending censorship of protected speech. No federal department, agency, entity, officer, employee, or agent may act or use any federal resources in a manner contrary to Section 2 of this order. The Attorney General, in consultation with the heads of the executive departments and agencies, shall investigate the activities of the federal government over the last 4 years that are inconsistent with the purposes and policies of this order and prepare a report to be submitted to the President through the Deputy Chief of Staff. This is saying we're going to spend resources looking at the past 4 years, but they're doing it right now. Why is it okay to be doing it right now? If you want to research for the past 4 years, go for it. I'm not saying don't do that. 100%. If you want to put unbiased people in charge to say, was this unfair censorship? Go for it. But freedom of speech means you are free to say anything. It does not mean you are free from being fact checked. If you say a lie and somebody proves you said a lie, that's not taking away someone's freedom of speech. That is making sure that you have corrected that. If I sat here and got angry because somebody saw that I was wearing a red shirt and they insisted I said I never wore a red shirt. I have only ever worn blue shirts on here. I've never once worn a red shirt. And then they show a picture of this. That's not censoring. That is not going against somebody's free speech. That is literally going, look, that's what you said. Here's proof that that's a lie. Okay. Again, this section B, that whole spending money to go look over the past 4 years, I don't care. You want to look over and scrub the past 4 years? More power to you. But you can't be breaking all of these laws and rules now. You cannot say you're doing this to prove freedom of speech while censoring anything you don't agree with. It's not okay. Section 4, general provisions. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof, or the functions of the director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. This order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. This order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, blah, blah, blah. The White House, January 20th, 2025. This entire thing is trying to say the previous administration censored everything you said. And they are the ones currently censoring what is said. So everybody who swears by freedom of speech, I agree. 100%. That is what I truly 100% believe is part of what made this country a great country. We don't have freedom of speech right now. We have professors, we've got teachers, we've got comedians, we've got reporters, we've got all kinds of random people losing their jobs because they said what they thought. That is not okay. That is not freedom of speech. So every single person in this class who says that they believe in freedom of speech, you should be outraged. If you are not outraged at what is happening right now, if you have applauded that this person lost their job or that person lost their job, you don't believe in freedom of speech. You don't. So quit saying it. If you truly believe the only thing that should ever be said is in the positive of a sitting administration, you don't believe in a democracy. You do not believe in freedom of speech. This is terrifying. Yes, I am ranting. I am angry. I am scared. I am furious. And yes, I know that's in addition to anger. I need you to understand. My family came to the States when my dad was a kid during World War II. My family lived through that. My grandmother took her and her 3 kids. They were in various concentration camps, and she kept escaping with her 3 kids. trekked across multiple countries till she got back together with my grandfather. They hopped a boat. They came to New York, Ellis Island. Their names are on the flippin' wall in Ellis Island. They came to the States because they believed in how incredible the United States was. I was raised at how incredible the United States was. I currently live in my grandparents' house. They have passed now. Over here in the corner is a flippin' statue of a bald eagle. We have another bald eagle over there. There are American flags everywhere. I was raised where every time I visited my grandparents, they gave me something else about how incredible the United States was. It was drilled into my head. One of the reasons the United States was so incredible was because you were free to speak your mind. Nobody would tell you that you can't say you don't agree with what the government is doing. They lived through that already. My grandparents watched their parents shot in the head in the street right there. They watched what happened when they were told they had to agree and they didn't. They came to America because America said it's okay to say what you think. That is not what's happening right now. And I don't understand why I don't see more people screaming and yelling about that. So I had to change. I had to change what's being covered this week in this class. I have to. And this week, it's going to get heated. I expect it to get heated. And if you truly don't care, it's going to show, because this discussion, above all else, right now, I mean, I don't know what else is coming. This discussion better show exactly who you are. If you do one of those little lighthearted, oh, yes, well, you see, free speech is defined as, or free speech to me means, and then, yes, that's what makes it a good country. No, nope, 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 nope. That's not going to fly. You are even going to have a brand new grading rubric for this one. I haven't written it yet. Otherwise, I'd show it right now. Make sure you look at it. This one is you. You better talk about this. What is free speech? What is hate speech? What does it actually mean? What is currently happening right now? Is this free speech? Are we a nation that is actually showing free speech right now? Or are we a nation that is mimicking things that have happened in history? That is flippin' terrifying. Which one? You know what I think already. You are 100% valid to think otherwise. You are 100% valid to say, I can't even do it. I can't. But you're valid to have a different opinion, but you better back it up. And if you say that you believe in free speech and you said your political ideology is free speech and you are not angry, then you better check yourself, because that means you do not believe in free speech at all. You're just saying it because that's what you were raised with. Right now, if you truly believe in free speech, if you truly believe in freedom of religion, you should be so angry. You should be screaming up a storm. Because if you truly believe in freedom of religion, you should be livid that everybody keeps saying a Christian nation. That's not freedom of religion. Doesn't matter if your religion is Christian. That's not freedom of religion. That's a Christian nation. That's what the UK was. That's why people hopped a boat, started over, because people who were not Christian were being persecuted. Why we have freedom of religion. If you say you believe in freedom of speech and you are not fuming and flipping out to the degree I am, you really don't care about freedom of speech. You don't. This is the time to buckle down. Say what you really think. Say how you feel. Back it up. You still have to back it up, because every one of your opinions has to have a base. Now, if you decide you think it's perfectly okay that we are in a country that companies are taking the pressure from the current administration and firing people who say they don't agree with the current administration, if you think that's great, Say it. Go ahead and say it. Own it. But if you don't agree with that, you should be mad and you should be pitching a fit. And yeah. Am I worried that I might end up losing my job? Yeah, I am. Um, my friends and family have already said, Linda, you better start to tone it down because you're probably going to get fired. And I can't, because this is not the country. This is not what the USA stands for. This is not what the Constitution states. This is not what everybody in this class has said that the Constitution stands for. That is not what each person in my classes say is what the USA is. I am teaching political science. It is very valid to say absolutely everything I'm saying here. And that's why I keep stressing again and again, it is okay to disagree with me. It really is. I am not saying you have to think one thing or another, but you have to back it up. You cannot be a flippin' hypocrite. If you say that you believe in the freedom of speech, then you believe in the freedom of speech, and everybody is free to say what they say. And that's pretty much it. Stop thinking that freedom of speech means nobody can disagree with you. That's part of the freedom of speech. Every single student I have is welcome to come back to this video. And I normally keep the comments closed. I wonder if I'm going to keep them closed. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it open in the discussions for you guys since this is for a class. I'm going to leave it open in the discussions in your classes for this. I'll even open a brand new discussion so you can counter anything I say in this one. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. See, I'm writing the class right now as I'm venting. You are free to disagree with every single word that came out of my mouth. And you can tell me that you disagree. But you have to tell me why. Seriously, you have to tell me why. That's why I started off showing you the Constitution. In the American government class, why I always go this way for the American government class, I don't know. I think it's because of the way I keep the tabs open on my computer. I've had a lot of people say that they admired Kirk. And I asked somebody, how much do you know about him? I didn't say whether I thought it was a good or a bad thing. I'm asking, how much do you know? Because that's another thing, is if you say you admire somebody, make sure to really look at the person, not what people say the person is, not what media is portraying, not small clips. Really research the person. And if he really stands for what you truly believe, own it. But I'm telling you, I would be shocked if some of the people who told me that they think he was a good person really believe everything he said. Like, I really would be surprised, because while he stated he was all for the US and Christian and whatnot, there was a lot of not very, we'll just say, not very equal to all of humans in there. And I am not just referring to LGBTQ plus. I'm not. I'm referring to people with different amounts of melanin in their skin. I am referring to people who have a different gender. Basically, I am referring to anyone who is not cis white male. Please, before you say how much you value somebody or look up to somebody, look up throughout the past few years all of the different things that were very proudly stated. And again, if that truly is what you truly 100% believe, and that does represent you, more power to you. That is your right. Because again, I believe freedom of speech. I believe in the freedom of being who you are. I really do. You have every right to have those views. But the other things these same people are telling me that they believe don't match what was being said on the other side. So please, please, Mm. Ages ago, my kids referred to sheeple. Don't be one. You need to actually research people, not sound bites. You can take absolutely any talk and take a small little clip, completely change the context. You can take one of the most horrible people on the planet and take tiny little clips, and they're going to sound great. You can take one of the most incredible people on the planet, take tiny little clips, and make them sound like the most horrible. You have to look at the whole picture. So, no matter who you value, look at the whole picture. I will be opening a discussion board for this video. Ask me questions, post your comments, all of that. But the big thing is we all still also have to be respectful. You can disagree with every word that came out of my mouth. That is your right. I can disagree with every word that comes out of your mouth. That is my right. I will never be rude to you about it. I will never tell you that you're stupid. I will never tell you that you are hateful. I will never sit there and say, you are so extreme right or you are so extreme left. I am not going to do any of that stuff because that is not respectful. That is not who I am. That is not how anyone grows. As soon as you sit there and point fingers and scream and yell and us, them, blah, 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 you've already lost the battle. We have an obligation as citizens. If you truly love the United States of America, you have an obligation to stand up and say, this is not my country. And I'm telling you right now, the censorship and the lack of freedom of speech, that is not my country. And it makes me so angry because, again, I was raised nonstop about how incredible this country is. And I 100% believe it was an incredible country. I do not think it is currently. I think it can be again, but not when it's being censored, not when we're not allowed to speak, not when our own administration is 100% lying to us. And I can say that with fact. I showed you on the White House website itself. Our administration, our current administration stated they would not do any of this, and they are currently doing it. That is a lie. That bothers me. I cannot be quiet. I cannot stand for it. So our discussion this week is going to be based on defining some of these terms and you telling me exactly how you feel, whether you think it's okay or not. If somebody states something you don't agree with, I want you to interact. I want you to ask more questions. Each of us needs to try to understand the other person's point of view, not scream and yell, not say, you just don't understand reality, not the, person of that other side would do exactly the same. That doesn't get you anywhere. That's the equivalent of saying, my father used to beat the crap out of me, so it's fine that I beat the crap out of my child. No, that's not okay. We have to do better. If we want an incredible, wonderful nation, we have to do better. We, the citizens, have an obligation to be better citizens, hold our government accountable. That's literally our job. We don't just sit here and coast. So please. And yes, I know I went on a long time, but I am so livid right now. And I am trying really hard to keep it somewhat down. You do not know the amount of control that's going in right now. You saw me start to lose it a couple of times and rein it back in. So please, this discussion, you best put your all in it. And yeah, this is the one where we all are going to have to see who each other are. That's it. There's no straddling the fence on this one. There's no, I can see both sides. It is a dichotomous thing. It is this or that. There is no in between. Okay. So whew, hopefully things will get better. Now, in case anyone's curious, it's a band, just so you know. Saw them in concert recently. One of my favorite bands. If you never heard of them, look them up. Yeah, Fear. That's their name. So, old school band. My kind of thought. Anyway, that is it. Hopefully, hopefully I'm still your teacher. All right, so peace out.